Welcome to the motherfucking relay where we're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Well, this weekend's fight at 147 pounds between Terrence Crawford, the reigning WBO champion, and Egidijus Kavaliauskas is receiving some mixed reviews. Some people are taking this as an opportunity to belittle Terrence Crawford's abilities, to suggest that he is food for all of the PBC's welterweights. All those guys, anyone from Errol Spence to Keith Thurman to Shawn Porter. Yes, there are those people. It might sound strange, almost alien to me and you, and most certainly to any real boxing fan who knows the sport.
Exactly.
But there are these people out there, so there is this to be addressed. You know, I gave my interpretation of the fight itself. I gave my take on it, but now it's time for me to give my take on just what it is these guys are really trying to do, and what's at the base of this constant need, this constant want to berate Terrence Crawford, who is the most accomplished American fighter active today. Why do they keep going after this guy? What the fuck did he do to them?
I'll tell you.
You notice that they take every opportunity to slide him in favor of just about any and every PBC fighter, even though no PBC fighter outside of Manny Pacquiao. And is he really a PBC fighter? I mean, what's he got left on that contract? One fight?
Think so.
Better still. You know, they try to act like somehow these guys have achieved something that he hasn't.
Ridiculous.
Errol Spence, Keith Thurman, Shawn Porter, Omar Figueroa, Yordenis Ugas. I mean, none of these guys have the body of work of a Terrence Crawford, and yet there's a group of people out there who constantly go out of their way to diminish him. Now, the latest criticism that they're trying to levy against Terrence Crawford is how that slip could have, and at least to them should have, been ruled a knockdown. This is what they're using to once again disparage Terrence Crawford. The fact that he was knocked down by a top 10 welterweight. Because I've been saying this for weeks. Egidijus Kavaliauskas is a top 10 guy. Not just top 10 via some alphabet organization. He's top 10 in the division. And this top 10 fighter, you know, Mean Machine, landed a hard shot, and it looked a lot like he put Crawford down. But I'll go as far as saying that he did, for argument's sake, to prove a point. Let's say that Mean Machine, a top 10 welterweight in the division, put Crawford down in a world title fight. That can't be any worse than when Quandre Robertson put Keith Thurman down. Oh, I guess you guys didn't know that. I guess you guys didn't know that before Keith Thurman even locked horns with a 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao,
40.
The latest guy to put Keith Thurman on his ass. The Keith Thurman likes to talk so much about how Crawford is barely a champion, yet he can barely handle a 40-year-old Manny Pacquiao. Before any of that took place, Keith Thurman had already been put down by Quandre Robertson, and Quandre Robertson was not ranked as a top 10 welterweight in the division the way that the Mean Machine is. And you guys are okay with that. You make no light of that. You still say that Keith Thurman is this, that, and a bag of chips.
But is he?
Guy who's been put down by anyone from Quandre Robertson, a fringe contender, to Manny Pacquiao, a 40-year-old welterweight.
Guy's old.
We know that Shawn Porter, a guy with a great chin, okay? Guy with great punch resistance, yet another top 10 guy in the division, another PBC fighter. We know that he's been down a couple of times too. He's been put down by anyone from Errol Spence very recently to Adrian Broner, a guy who is notorious for not throwing enough punches, a guy who is notorious for not being active enough. And yet, Adrian Broner managed to get Porter on the canvas. Now, I don't see any snap judgments or harsh criticisms when it comes to Shawn Porter, but when it's Terrence Crawford, oh my God, it's the end of the world. He sucks. He's food for everybody. I mean, that's how you guys are treating the situation. Comes to Terrence Crawford, you can imagine what these guys are saying, that, oh, Mean Machine knocked Terrence Crawford down. So just imagine what would happen if Errol Spence gets his hands on him. Errol Spence? The same Errol Spence who went 12 rounds with a fat lightweight, who'd never done anything in the welterweight division, that Errol Spence? I mean, I didn't forget how disappointing and underwhelming and mediocre all of that was. Going 12 rounds with a guy who's never done anything as a welterweight. He's certainly not a top 10 fighter there, or he wasn't. Still isn't. And this supposed boogeyman, he had to go to the cards with this guy, even though he threw, 1,000 punches and landed over 300 of them, and he couldn't make a lightweight take a knee. And this is the guy I'm supposed to believe is gonna walk through Terrence Crawford. Oh, I know what you're gonna tell me. You're gonna tell me that Spence wasn't trying to knock him out. You're gonna tell me that Errol Spence was trying to beat him at his own game. He wasn't looking for the knockout. He wanted to show his boxing skills. Ooh. Well, is that why Errol Spence said ahead of the fight that he's gonna be looking to knock out Mikey Garcia? I mean, you can spin that yarn as long as you want. The quotes themselves aren't going to change. It's crystal clear that, yeah, Errol Spence, he said ahead of the fight he was looking for the knockout. But if that's not enough for you, he said the same thing after the fight.
You know, see how he was going to come, and then the fourth round I feel like I could get him. But I didn't get him the fourth round, so I, went back to throwing my jab and picking him off, and then I tried to go get him again. And, I just couldn't get him out of there. So, I tried to press on the gas, but, it wasn't a man down tonight.
It looked like he was really trying to dig deep with body punches.
Yeah, I was trying to stop him with either his corner or stop the fight, but they wasn't budging, and I was like, damn.
Good fight out of you.
And this is the guy you want me to believe stops Terrence Crawford. A guy who can go in there, throw 1,000 punches at what is a fat, blown-up lightweight. He can go in there, throw 1,000 punches, land over 300 of them on this fat lightweight, and fail to make the guy take so much as a knee. He can't drop the guy, much less stop him. And bear in mind, we're talking about a lightweight. We're not talking about a cagey veteran at 147 pounds or some top contender in the welterweight division going into survival mode and fighting a negative fight. We are literally talking about a guy who came up from 135 up to 147. And Errol Spence couldn't drop the guy, couldn't stop the guy. And this is the guy that you expect me to believe walks through Terrence Crawford and stops him. Bro, the guy can't stop lightweights. How's he gonna stop Terrence Crawford?
Give me a break.
While you guys was saying that he was gonna stop Sean Porter, I told you, this guy can't stop a lightweight, so he's definitely not stopping Sean Showtime Porter. I told you guys, I said he'll win, he just won't stop Sean. I was right about that, and I'm sure that I'm gonna be right about this. Errol Spence don't got what it takes to stop Terrence Crawford. Errol Spence don't got what it takes to beat Terrence Crawford. I mean, he couldn't stop an undefeated champion from 135 pounds. So how's he going to stop one at 147? What are you going to do? You're going to talk to me about Kell Brook, the famous Kell Brook fight. What about Kell Brook? Kell Brook had already gotten his ass kicked right before he fought Spence. We all know, over the course of 5 rounds, Gennady Golovkin beat him from pillar to post, broke his face, and sent him packing back down to the welterweight division. That's what happened right before he fought Errol Spence. Yet you guys would have me believe that that's some kind of an insight as to what would happen in a Crawford fight. A guy who's not coming off of an ass kicking, not coming off of a weight cut, not coming off of eye surgery. Very different circumstances.
I mean, for Christ's sakes, it's due to those circumstances that I picked Spence to win that fight by late stoppage. And I'll leave the link to that video in the description box if you don't believe me.
Who the hell are you guys trying to convince of all this stuff? All this hyperbole about PBC fighters? Who are you trying to convince of this stuff? Because you sure as hell aren't convincing me. The only way you can convince me is with the facts. And the facts themselves, they don't support anything you're saying, because very recently, I reiterate, I saw Errol Spence go 12 rounds with a guy who never blew so much as a hard fart at 147 pounds, much less threw a hard punch. And that guy went the distance with your boogeyman. He went the distance. He went the full course. His own corner asked him if he wanted to go on, and the guy actually said, yeah, y'all saw the fight. Mikey Garcia fight. So give me a break with the bullshit.
I don't got no reason to believe you.
Andre Ward. You remember Andre Ward? You used to like that guy, you guys. You used to be real sweet on Andre Ward. Andre Ward, unified champion in the super middleweight division. Andre Ward, unified champion in the light heavyweight division, who retired undefeated. That Andre Ward. He was knocked down before, at least 2 times. He was knocked down long time ago by Donnell Boone.
You remember that?
But he still went on to win the fight. Remained undefeated in the super middleweight division, unified titles there. Did the same thing, the exact same thing, in the light heavyweight division. He was knocked down by Sergey Kovalev. He went on to nick the fight. I mean, at the end of the day, he got the W, and he went a little step further than that, won by stoppage in the very next fight against Sergey Kovalev, okay? But you guys want me to read all of this bullshit into Terrence Crawford being knocked down by Egis Kavaliauskas. It's not like Crawford bounced the guy off the canvas 3 times, right?
Right.
It's not like he went on to win the fight in spectacular fashion.
Right.
Okay? He didn't go life or death with the guy. He asserted dominance put the guy down 3 whole times. Something you guys don't want to talk about. You just want to dwell on what could have been, or maybe even should have been, a knockdown. Well, I'll go as far as saying, yeah, maybe Egas knocked him down. I mean, it looked like a knockdown. But you see what Crawford did to that guy. And believe you me when I tell you, he'd do a lot worse to PBC's stable of welterweights. Oh, yeah. Your Keith Thurman, who took a hard shot from Luis Collazo and was visibly hurt, began to retreat, had to survive. The same Keith Thurman who, barely survived Josecito Lopez. I mean, how's that guy holding up these days, You're losing to 40-year-old fighters, you're going life or death in tune-up fights. And this is the guy I'm supposed to believe beats a Terrence Crawford?
Yeah, right.
Errol Spence, he needs judges to tell him that he beat a fucking lightweight, because not like he can get the guy out of there. And he admitted that he tried.
With body punches.
Yeah, I was trying to stop him, either his corner or stop the fight, but they wasn't budging. And I was like, damn.
And I love how these kinds of guys love to show up in the comments under my videos telling me that, oh, that's just your opinion. What's my opinion, dog? What part of it is my opinion? Errol Spence stood up there in front of everybody, all the boxing media, and let them know that he actually did try to get the stoppage. He did try to force it. He just couldn't make it happen. Couldn't make it happen against a fucking lightweight. But I'm supposed to believe he stops Crawford. Yeah, I don't believe that, okay? You probably don't even believe that. You want to believe that, and you're trying to get me to believe it too. It's just not working. But why do you guys want people to believe this stuff? I mean, why are you guys so adamant in trying to sell this dream that the PBC stable of welterweights is a bunch of killers and Terrence Crawford is food for them? If he were food for them, I think that they would show the same enthusiasm towards fighting him that Jose Ramirez showed in fighting Maurice Hooker. Top Rank believed in their guy enough that they let him have the fight. And Jose Ramirez believed in himself enough that he had to fight, not just on the rival platform, but in the other guy's backyard, Maurice Hooker's neck of the woods. That's where the fight took place, his neck of the woods, on his platform. And when the smoke settled, it was Jose Ramirez that won the fight, because he believed he could do it. Whereas with the PBC stable of welterweights, you don't see that belief. You see a lot of interviews, a lot of excuses, a lot of banter, a lot of talking shit. But what you don't see is one of those guys crossing over there and putting their fucking money where their mouth is. That's what you don't see. That's because those guys don't believe it as much as you guys try to sell that belief, try to sell it to other people. And at the center of this dream that you're trying to sell is not a boxing perspective so much as an emotional perspective, a feelings perspective. You want to know what I mean? Here it is.
You ain't solid. Cause see me, I'm a different type of nigga, man.
In what way?
You do that shit to me, dog. I'll tell you right now, I ain't never gonna say nothing about you day again in life.
You're doing it right now.
Tell you that right now, playboy. That's just how it's gonna go down.
Are you sure?
I'm sitting over here holding the line for you, showing you love, and then I show up to your fight to support you, go to interview you, and you play me like that, man, you smoking. I'm finna come chase you no more, dog. I ain't finna talk to you or your team. It is what it is. That's just how I go. I'm cut from a whole different cloth. Tell you like that right now, Jack. Straight up. The hell you think this is? Ain't nobody your groupie, dog. Put some respect on the people that's out here actually showing you love. That's it. Ain't nobody finna disrespect me like that. Think I'm gonna do an interview with them no more. The hell with you. Keep it real.
Shut the fuck up!
Do you ever notice how these kind of guys will go out of their way, they'll hoop, they'll holler, to tell you how they're quote-unquote different and they're cut from a different cloth, yet all they can say is some shit that 10 million other motherfuckers are saying the exact same shit.
Ain't different.
Keep it real, I'm cut from a different cloth.
Bunch of cliches.
Not gonna disrespect me. I mean, these guys, they're like a broken record. But here we see what the real nature of the problem is for these guys and Terrence Crawford. And it's that one or some or several of these individuals wanted to, I guess, get an interview with Terrence Crawford, and Terrence Crawford had other things on his mind, had other things to do. He didn't give them that exclusive, and this has really hurt their asses. I mean, the level of butt hurt in that video is coming in just record amounts. We've got people working around the clock to try to put a number on how much butt hurt we're looking at.
We have the technology.
The nature of their problem with Terrence Crawford isn't his boxing, it's that one of their guys couldn't get a fucking interview. That's literally why they keep coming after him. So in that way, their perspective and their assessments are not actually fueled by the mechanics, the nuts and bolts of the sport. What they are essentially communicating to you are their feelings. I'm mad at him. Want to give a shout out to Wood State Road TV for gathering this intel and archiving it for our viewing pleasure. Shout out to Wood State Road TV for compiling an archive of these special moments in the YouTube boxing community involving the LDBC, who think that because they don't like a guy, that doesn't make him a good boxer, or that makes him a bad boxer, because you guys don't like the guy. But come to find out, the reason you guys don't like the guy doesn't got a goddamn fucking thing to do with boxing. He just blew one of your guys off, and you're taking it personal. They're very upset over this at the LDBC offices. Well, yeah, I mean, that's what the nature of their problem is, okay? They're not coming at these fights, these potential matches that me and you like to discuss. They're not coming at those fights from a boxing perspective revolving around the sport of boxing so much as their feelings. That tell us Crawford was mean to me. You know, there really is nothing more impressive than watching a grown man abandon all his wit and all his resolve and balling up into a bundle of feelings. There's nothing more impressive than that, said no one ever. Let's get down to brass tacks, folks. The problem a lot of these guys got is that they're built like girls on the inside. They are. They're built like girls on the inside. They're petty like girls. They're crabby like girls. They hold grudges like girls. They never shut the fuck up even when they're wrong, like girls. I mean, you can literally show these guys video evidence, audio, articles, documents. You can show these kinds of guys all this kinds of stuff in the middle of a debate, but they will still argue like a woman would, okay? Because that's what they are on the inside, okay? It's a little girl in there. She's on her period and she's really upset. That's how these guys are built on the inside. And that's why they conduct themselves the way they do. Because if they were professionals, even if Terrence Crawford did blow you off that day, you don't know what kind of mood he was in that day. You're supposed to be an esteemed professional, so fucking act like it. But it's because you're not that you behave the way you do. That's what it is. And that is what's really at the center of the problem when it comes to the LDBC and Terrence Crawford. He hurt their feelings, and now they are so upset. That doesn't have a goddamn fucking thing to do with boxing.